Okay, a woman with a bag, right?
Who's willing to...
Okay, if you a sugar mama, right?
What do you define a sugar mama, though? We gotta make sure.
A sugar mama,
I want you to define a sugar mama.
is a cougar with a bag.
No, it don't have to be cougar.
Okay.
See?
Well,
See?
okay.
Cougar and sugar mama, two
woman with a
different
bag.
things. Right.
Okay, a woman with a bag, right?
Who's willing to share.
Who's willing to
share her
openly.
resources,
And
which is all black women share. The numbers are the numbers. If black women have the most degrees, if we have the most home ownership, if we have the most education, and black men who I love, I rock with, will never date outside my race. But the bottom line is, the stats are the stats. It shows the less amount of degrees, the less ownership. So every black woman in her
Y'all gotta get
is a
y'all
sugar
money up.
mama.
We gotta stop. We gotta
Yeah,
stop.
she is
Y'all
sugar
gotta
mama,
get y'all
whether
money
you
up.
like it or
This
not.
the baller episode.
Yeah,
Wait,
whether you like it or
I'm
not.
looking at these statistics. Hey, brother, y'all gotta get y'all money up.
Is it possible for a man to marry down? I think not. I think actually women are sugar mamas. And statistically and overall, we're a net positive to men, which is why we divorce men more than they divorce us. Even though you have men espousing on the internet that marriage is a net negative for themselves, and yada, yada, yet they continue to chase us and admonish us to get in relationships with them, marry them. Right. So we're going to talk about this. I have some clips. I have some threads so we can kind of go through it and see and illuminate the fact that it is impossible for most men to marry down.
Okay, if you a sugar mama, right?
What do you define a sugar mama, though? We gotta make sure.
A sugar mama,
I want you to
a sugar
define a
mama,
sugar mama.
is a cougar with a bag.
No, it don't have to be cougar.
Okay.
See?
Well,
See?
okay.
Cougar and sugar mama,
woman
two
with a
different
bag.
things. Right.
Okay, a woman with a bag, right?
Who's willing to share.
Who's willing to
Share her
openly.
resources,
And
which is all black women share. The numbers are the numbers. If black women have the most degrees, if we have the most home ownership, if we have the most education, and black men who I love, I rock with, will never date outside my race. But the bottom line is, the stats are the stats. It shows the less amount of degrees, the less ownership. So every black woman in her
Y'all gotta
is
get
a
y'all
sugar
money up.
mama.
We gotta stop. We gotta
Yeah,
stop.
she
This
is
y'all
sugar
gotta
mama,
get y'all
whether you
money up.
like it or
This
not.
the baller episode.
Yeah,
Wait,
whether you like it or
I'm
not.
looking at these statistics. Hey, brother, y'all gotta get y'all money up.
Yeah. But if you're not getting it up, who been helping your black ass? Your woman? No, but we got to make sure, we got to be clear. Your woman,
Yup.
your mama, your auntie. So the audacity to sit up here and talk about what you don't like about black women getting it when it's been a black woman that's getting it, that's been putting you in position your entire life. So when I say sugar mama, I'm not talking about I'm saying black women have been able to sustain. This is what the numbers show, to sustain.
I agree with
it's
that.
only black women, and I'm not talking about criminalizing
100%.
us. I'm talking about the whole thing. If it's a black
sure.
woman put their house up to get your ass out of jail, if it's a black woman helping you study at college, if it's a black woman giving you your keys so you can go do your job, if it's a black woman that's having your children. No, the bottom line is we have been the sugar mamas of the black community, of the culture. So for men to sit up and act like it's a bad thing when we've been holding it down, to act like it's a bad thing because we want a degree so you can focus on your trade or you can go get to act like it's a bad thing when I walk in the room as a virtuous woman. We got to change that conversation.
Tesla and Figaro nailed it. She's the goat. So what do we have here? We have two gentlemen, one with a t-shirt that says, God is my therapy. So he looks like he possibly is a problem since he obviously doesn't believe in therapy. We have the other guy who was giggling throughout her first part of her statement and then admonished them to stop talking about it, which makes me believe that they know what she's saying is true, but it defeats their silly internet talking points when men try to diminish the value of an educated woman and a woman's financial freedom and her ability to help the community and help them. So when we look at this in real life, not on the internet, not the social media BS, but in real life, the thing is that men have been benefiting from women with their labor, with their finances, and with their bearing children. So these are the benefits that men are getting from women, and it pales in comparison a man's what he brings to the table. It pales in comparison. And this is why I'm saying it's impossible for men to date down. So here these guys are listening to Tesla, and they started to get serious after a while because she's not lying. They benefit from mom, they benefit from grandma, they benefit from auntie and sister. Women are putting them through school. Women are floating the bill when it comes to child support. It's only 25% of what it costs to raise a child. Child support is a discount for men because men created it. And that's a little secret that they seem to not want to catch on to themselves or share in on social media. But that's the truth. Women who are 90% custodial parents, they're the ones that actually are paying for the kids. So benefiting them in that regard, where they're basically taking care of your kids when you guys split, divorce, or whatever. Then on top of that, if you're married to a woman, she's doing 80 to 100% of the household labor for the most part, 70, 80% of it. Even some women 100%. And also you require for her to bring in a paycheck, which is either 50% or more than what you bring in a lot of the time. So what are they dating down to? No, they can't. They can't date down. A man is going to experience a net positive in his life when married. This is why married men make more money than single men. These statistics are out there, folks. Just look at it. But so we have another video from one of my favorite YouTubers, Public Defender, and he's talking about all of the unseen and invisible labor of women when it came to men's education.
Did you know that in the 19th century, many girls worked in factories in New England to put their brothers through college? For International Women's Day, I want to talk about the pervasive myth that women didn't work before World War II. And I don't just mean unpaid labor inside the home, which is also work. Beginning in the 1830s, Lowell, Massachusetts was a major textile manufacturing city where workers came from far and wide to operate the mills, and over 3/4 of them were women and girls. The girls left school around age 10 and worked between 10 and 14 hours per day around dangerous machinery, hiding books and trying to educate themselves in their free moments. Although at first, the majority of the workforce were local to New England, later in the century, many of the workers were Irish, Italian, and Syrian immigrants who labored under much harsher conditions and led massive strikes against pay cuts. Several diaries of the early mill girls have been published, and the memoir of Harriet H. Robinson includes a quotation from Thomas Wentworth Higgins, an abolitionist minister, that not only says that he was educated thanks to the sacrifices of women, but that up to 1/4 of Harvard students had their tuition paid by a laboring female relative, at a time when most colleges did not admit women. This is just one example of the way in which women's contributions have been overlooked in history, and that the royals and powerful men we learn about in school are not representative of society at large.
Seeing stuff like that I wanted to give historical context to it, because if that's what was going on 110, 20 years ago, what do you think is happening right now? What do you think is happening right now? You think that's not happening? It just looks different? If 70% of married women work, what percentage of women in general work, first and foremost, and what percentage of women in committed relationships work? 90%? Like, well, I don't know. Men are benefiting from the labor of women, and we always have. We always have, and we most likely always will. And I'm not talking about necessarily from a misogynistic way. I'm just saying in general, just because women are so productive that no matter what, even if men become more productive, we're still going to benefit from the labor of women no matter what. But men disproportionately have been benefiting from the labor of women for a fucking millennium, 2 millennia right now at this point. So I'm so tired of men getting up here lying, talking about the financial burden that they feel, and that's the reason why they don't want to get married. No, the reason why you even think that is because dumbass men have been telling you that women are gold diggers and you can't have a woman unless you have a job. And mind you, I shouldn't even say unless you have a job. They tell men that that unless they're wealthy, unless they can float a woman's whole lifestyle, that they won't gain access to any women, right? That's a part of what they say. But also what's going on is men are also telling men that they need to work, and they're not saying it directly, but they do tell men that they need to work in so many words. They need to work so that they can control the finances, so that they can control the woman. And we know, and y'all know that I'm big on that. Y'all know that I know so many men. That's the only reason why they want to be the sole provider. And a lot of men don't want to get married, not because they're like, oh man, I feel this pressure. Because if you really felt like that, then why wouldn't you just do the things it took to make sure that you could maintain a lifestyle for your family?
So we have thread here, and we have a gentleman who asked a question. And this is the thing, men say that marriage is a net negative, yet they're constantly online admonishing women to get married, especially young, have children and such, even though they say marriage is a net negative for themselves. That's suspicious, because which one is it, right? So here we have a gentleman, and this man, Fadacle, is Cletus Thomas. We can see his photograph there. He's obviously not a young man. And so this is a man that we would say is seasoned, has lived, has been. And he says, why are people scared of getting married these days? He says people, but this is directed at women, because he goes on to say decades ago, it used to be every woman's dream and desire. Is that passion dead? People used to get married out of the blue, and divorce was never an option. That's a strange thing to say. Never an option is a strange thing to say. And they grew old together. Funny enough, they had nothing. That's a strange thing to say as well. It's kind of like idealizing struggle love, but let's continue. Just each other. Where did this generation go wrong? Oh dear Cletus. So I'm not even going to say much besides just to reiterate what Pub said in the video we just saw, which was that men benefit from marriage. They want to be married. They know that a woman's labor is going to benefit them, and they know that a woman is productive and her labor is great and vast, and they look forward to it. And so the comments, though, here are fantastic. And so one person says, nothing went wrong. Women realized they could live without slavery and earn on their own. And his response is marriage slavery? Because they don't want us to see it that way, but definitely the way it's set up, and like I said earlier, with women doing 80 to 100% of the household labor and expected to also bring in a paycheck, yeah, it is. And also the child ring, let's not forget that. We have schools and daycares that helps out some, but the schools and daycares aren't there at 2 o'clock in the morning when your child has pneumonia or a fever or whatever, and the man, the father, doesn't want to be bothered and isn't going to help. This person, Sarah, says women used to get married because they were social pariahs if they didn't, or couldn't hold jobs. They weren't allowed to work a lot of the times in certain societies and aspects. Couldn't have control of their own finances if they did work, and a lot of women did, as we saw in the last clip. Now women are recognizing as people in their own right and don't have to submit to a man to thrive in society. Women have found their own power and will no longer accept garbage treatment from men and are kicking ass as single people enjoying their own lives. Men need to offer a lot more now than a name and a bank account. Thank you, Sarah. You got that. And this person says, it's not something that went wrong. The image you have of the era is not realistic at all, which we saw that in the video that Pub shared. Every woman wanted to get married because they kind of had to, since women couldn't even buy property or get credit on their own, and often couldn't even get a job. The only way to get ahead was through marriage, or even just financial, aspects whatsoever. I wouldn't even call it getting ahead, honestly, jazzy. I would say just to survive, they had to get married. And they didn't get divorced because it was almost impossible to do so and not lose everything before no-fault divorce, etc. So even people in deeply unhappy and dysfunctional marriages stayed together. And this other person said this. But men know that. They see that, but they disregard it because it's all a facade that they're hoping that we kind of continue to buy into. And then it's gotten even worse with the exacerbated, messages on the internet where they really are pushing this narrative of not only that marriage is so hard for men and, y'all are lucky we even bother, to get us to kind of, I guess, take whoever in the bare minimum, but then also saying that our education doesn't matter, saying that we're gold diggers. Like, there's just so many negative messages out there about women, when in fact, in reality, if you look at the statistics, men vastly benefit from marriage with women. And the happiest human beings, well, especially in the United States, are married men. They're the happiest segment of society. Next is single men. It's married men, single women, then single men, then married women, in that order. Look it up. I would lie to you not. So, folks, what did we learn here? We learned that women have been working since the beginning of time for the most part. Men have been benefiting from everything that women do. If a woman is not home taking care of the kids and taking care of the home and everybody's livelihood at said home, a man wouldn't be able to have the freedom to work longer, to work stronger, to work better. Married men making more money than single men is an obvious clue to the benefits of being with and partnered with a woman. Why do we diminish a woman's efforts and labor? I think the simple answer is that men and women are unequally yoked in and of itself. Even in nature, a female and a male, they really don't partner in that regard. It's more of a chase and even sometimes even an attack for a male to get with a female. For the most part, it's an inverse relationship where a woman is trying to support and protect a community, whereas a man is trying to get his needs met. So what you end up with is a lot of propaganda and lies to convince women that they're not as wonderful and great as they actually are. And it just is so much more egregious when we look at the reality that this extends beyond romantic relationships. This is mom and child. This is aunt and niece nephew. This is, female cousin. This is your girl, friends. Women just are a net positive in a man's life, and they so know it. That's why they seek us out and chase us down. They're lying on the internet because they don't want us to know how powerfully beneficial we are in their lives, because they want to access us for as little as possible. They want for the women in their lives to not want anything back in return. And if you do want something sort of reciprocal, they're hoping that it's as little as possible. So that's the video, folks. I'm Rebel. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and share if you enjoyed this video. And I will see you guys in the next video.